Hi, Kate. It's another week and it's Friday. Yay!
Yeah, it's a lovely rainy Friday. It's gorgeous. It's so wintry, which is good that we're talking about a winter retreat.
We are. And, it's as we keep on saying throughout this week, there's some really gorgeous things about winter that we want to celebrate around the season of winter. And I think there's many, many gifts. Poor old winter doesn't, sort of like Mercury retrograde. Everyone blames winter for, the colds and the flus and things like that, but we don't actually embrace what winter gives us and the beautiful season and the gift that she has of stillness and, contemplation and dreaming and nourishing ourselves. So our
Absolutely.
retreat's going to be all about celebrating that.
Oh, I'm right up for celebrating winter. I just think if you don't have a winter, you can't have a spring. And if you don't have a spring, you can't have a summer. If you don't have a summer, you can't have an autumn. And so it goes. And every time we change season, it brings some other aspect of ourselves to the fore, doesn't it?
Yes,
So I'm excited about bringing that message through.
And I know you will, because we will touch on what you're bringing to the retreat. But for anyone that's sitting and listening and contemplating, you are going to be absolutely delighted to have Japanese yoga brought into your life by someone that has shown and opened up my eyes that yoga is far more than an Instagram pose. It's all about a lifestyle. It's all about leaning and working with the seasons. It's about nutrition. It's about practices. And it's really about allowing our body to heal and to live within itself. So Japanese yoga, for anyone that hasn't had that chance, it's a real gift to this world. I really love what it stands for and how it works with the elements. So we'll touch on that in a little bit later. But I've got you on the spot, Kate, and we've been talking to all our facilitators about our retreat on the 12th to the 14th of August that we're going to be holding up in the Blue Mountains in an amazing venue of Brightlands Retreat, which we were absolutely blown away on the luxury, but also the homeliness and the sense of welcome that you receive when you go there. So we think the program in itself is amazing, but the venue just takes it up to the next level. But I want to talk a little bit about Kate Peterson. And I know a lot of people that are in the group here probably know a little bit, or some may know a lot about you, but you're phenomenal, Kate, and we love you. And you've been in this industry for a very, very long time. And some people might know you as the person that reaches out across the whole range of our community, that you stand for things that you're very passionate about. But you've been in this industry for nearly 30 years?
No, longer than that.
Longer than that.
41 years.
41 years.
41 years as a therapist. So I started when I was 17 practicing massage, remedial massage. So that was a long time ago. In fact, I started meditating when I was 15 but started actually providing services when I was 17. Yeah. And I'm now coming up to 59 this year. So that might even be 42 in October.
42 years. And in that, you're still doing massaging. I know that you were a pioneer in the occupational therapy space when you did your paper at that time, exploring the whole mind-body connection that a lot of us take for granted. But there was people like yourself that were putting themselves out there to spread that word. So I know that's part of your journey. And then from there, where did you go?
Yeah, I guess, there was a certain point when I was studying occupational therapy, which was an incredible course. That's an allied health therapy, of course, a paramedical course, as they called it in those days. And what I tried to do, what happened for me anyway, was that I suddenly felt like we could do better, I guess, or reach wider. And occupational therapy is a fascinating discipline, and hopefully a few occupational therapists will back me up on that. But it's very mind, body, spirit kind of a profession. So I was using that to reach out to natural therapists and see what the similarity, the holistic principles of health were between us and between natural therapies, paramedical professions, any healers, therapists, practitioners. And that was what our study was about. So once I finished occupational therapy, I worked in mental wellness for a good while. It was just at the point where they were bringing a whole lot of people who'd been in institutions for a long, long time out of the institutions and bringing them into community. That was called the Richmond Report, or they were acting on the Richmond Report. And that was an interesting period to be involved with the health department. It was good in principle, but it was poorly funded and not great for a lot of people who moved out of long-term institutions. So it was quite a difficult scene to work in as a new graduate, I guess, because it was underfunded. And, you know, you'd be seeing these poor gentlemen or women who'd been in institutions for 30, 40 years, and you'd be allocated half an hour every 2 weeks with them. You know, it was ridiculous. And there was a lot of really bad stuff happening from them. It was very scary for a lot of people moving out of institutions. So, yeah. And, you know, I guess after a number of years working within the health department, I kind of came to the conclusion that it might be better to work on wellness from outside the health department. So that's when I came into being a remedial masseuse more full-time and started to study yoga and was dabbling in all kinds of different complementary therapies at that point. Yeah. So then I had children, went down that journey, that rabbit hole. And when I emerged, I decided that I would focus on being a yoga teacher, which I've now been for a lot of years. I don't know how many exactly. Let's say maybe 30, 30 years or so. And
for
being
me,
an
Kate,
active,
the yoga path, was it always Japanese yoga, or did you start with a traditional hatha and then stumble upon Japanese yoga? How did that work?
It's always been Japanese. I was very lucky. I was quite ill when I was probably 19, 20. I had something called spastic colitis. So it got to a pinnacle where I'd just faint because of the pain a lot. And I had really bad neck aches and goodness knows what. And I happened to come across the East-West Centre. I took a year off from university because I wasn't feeling inspired at all at that point by what I was doing. Took a year off and discovered Okido, which is the Japanese form of yoga. At the very beginning, when Oki-san, who was the guy who started the whole thing of Japanese yoga, had sent over 2 really beautiful teachers, Takao and Masako. And they kind of spread the word around Australia. And I was just lucky enough to stumble across Takao when he couldn't speak any English, and he was indicating how to do the yoga, indicating how to do rebirthing. It was, all care, no responsibility. But anyway, within a month and a half, I've never had a neck pain again, and my belly was fine. So, I'm well aware of the healing capacity of yoga, and I've been doing it ever since, passing it around.
And for anyone that isn't aware of Japanese yoga and is sitting there going, I've never done yoga, or I find it quite complex, what would you say to someone that's sitting there going, is this for me?
I absolutely think it's for everybody. Some types of yoga, look, yoga is for everybody, full stop. That's understood. But Japanese yoga is a corrective form of yoga. So it looks at where your weakness is and where your strengths are, and aims to balance what it sees before it. So absolutely. The thing I love about Japanese yoga is its applicability to various health conditions, and also it's fun. You do it not only as a solo being, but as a member of a community. So for those that aren't familiar with Japanese culture, it's a very, very communal kind of culture. Japanese people are called gohan, which means sticky rice. And there's a lot of people on that small island of Japan. So they have had to learn to live together very beautifully. So a lot of the practices that we do, you do in pairs, so that you're supporting somebody else to be the best they can, and they're supporting you. It's very reciprocal. And you also do it in groups. So there's a lot of laughter in Japanese yoga, which is great. And, whilst I love other forms of yoga, Iyengar, Ashtanga, Hatha, all of the forms of yoga, they're all a gift. But as a practitioner, I'd much rather be holding a practice that is fun, Yeah, because we say what you practice on the mat, you take off the mat and into the world. So if you're practicing a sense of lightness of being and joy, then that's what you're going to walk away with, and it's good. Yeah.
And it doesn't surprise me that you had that passion when you talk about it being community as well. When I look at everything that you've done since we've met, it's always about the strength in community. And even in our definition of wellness, it's about that the community is well, and that we are well when our community is well, and when, you know, and when our earth is well. So, you know, it's been a really strong part of the what you're bringing to light is that sense of the strength you have when you come together.
Absolutely. You know, we need to build a new culture of wellness. We really do. And I think anybody who thinks about it for half a second knows that, like in Australia and around the world, though I'm more familiar with Australia, the rate of bad back, the rate of headache, the rate of depression, the rate of suicide at the worst, all of those things, and just malaise, like a dissatisfaction, tension is huge, absolutely huge. And you can't get well in a void. And we've been doing this crazy thing of just thinking about wellness as being our own form needing to be well. But if you can't connect to you, yes, it's good to connect to yourself, but if you can't connect to those around you and those further beyond you and feel yourself, your place in humanity and your place as a being in a human and a non-human context, then then you're not really doing what you've come to do as a human. And without that, how can you feel well? Yeah.
And I think that underpins everything that we're doing here in Soul Advisor, isn't it? It's allowing for, you know, everyone has their own unique passions and gifts and what they want to bring in. But at the same time, in a sense, if we hold that space, if we can do that whilst holding each other, then we're doing it as a whole as well. So, you know,
It's much more fun.
It's such more fun. And who doesn't want a bit of fun? Exactly.
Everybody wants fun.
Yeah. So, you know, with the retreats, we've used the word soul alchemy. So we've called the actual retreats themselves as celebrating the seasons, and this one is winter, but our series of the retreats are soul alchemy. When I say those words, soul alchemy, what does that mean for you?
I think what it says is the capacity to transmute and transform. You know, I always think of it in yoga terms, of course, after all these years. And, you know, with yoga, we're continually moving or wanting to move from form to no form, back to form to no form, which is a little bit of an esoteric concept, but it's basically saying that we're two things. We're matter and we're energy, and it's the interaction of those two forces, the interplay, that we're always working with. And so it opens up a huge field of possibility to reimagine ourselves and reimagine our world and reimagine everything, really. It's all up for grabs continually. So alchemy speaks to me about that. It's the capacity to take what we have and make some magic happen. And our soul is, of course, the most important part of all of that. Yeah, it is the way that we connect with. We're, again, in Japanese yoga terms, we're the microcosm in the macrocosm, but the macrocosm is in us and we're within it. So it's a very, very deep relationship and well worthy of exploration your whole life. Yeah.
And I know that when we asked you to do this for the winter retreat, you said, I'd love to, because it's one of my favorite ones to teach. So you obviously have a real connection to winter. So, you know, what does winter capture for you?
Winter, winter is the water element in Japanese yoga. There's two elements to water. One is the container that holds the water, and the other is the flow, the movement within that container. And if we just think for a little while about what happens to the rest of nature during winter, it goes internal, and so do we. I mean, I don't know about you, Deb, but I'm uninterested in parties right now. I just want to stay snuggled up and hibernating. And that's what we're doing. You know, it's about going back into the bare minimum and doing a bit of a restructure of the holding vessel for the flow. So two things have to happen in winter. We have to allow ourselves that peace to allow the restructuring to take place in our body. And that is not only through our lifestyle, but also what we eat, how we breathe, how we do our actual asana or the pose practice that we do in yoga, etc., etc. So we're really taking stock, I guess. So, and then we have to start to get things to flow beautifully. So it's really important to cleanse that water that's running through us. And so we do that through a whole lot of different practices in Japanese yoga. But basically, we're setting it up. So if you can imagine that a tree during late summer has gone bloom, 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 and it's dropped all its seeds, and the seeds go deep down into the earth and just rest there for winter and just feel into what they're going to be. It's the time that we can reestablish ourselves for spring and then spring forth in the way that we've imagined. So it's a really, really important part of the year. It also governs, water element governs two of our meridians, which is our bladder meridian and our kidney meridian. And so the poses that we do and the practices we do all relate to those two organs. And both of those organs have, the way that we think about it is not just the organs in terms of Western medical conceptualization, but also the fact that they hold a certain energy and a certain energetic, and a certain, they're deeply related to different states of being, etc. So kidney in particular is related to our ancestral energy. So, you know, once your kidneys are gone, it's not so good. So you have to really, really look after your kidneys and strengthen that whole part of you all the time so that you can continue to connect to what's brought you here as a body on this planet at this time, all those ancestors behind you and what they've given you. So it's up to us to take the responsibility to take care of the kidney energy and the bladder energy, the holding vessel and the flow. Yeah, the bladder denotes the holding vessel for the water, and the kidneys is all about the flow. Yeah,
the flow. You see, in my energy healing capacity, the same, you know, it's the ancestral chi, but it was also our energy reserves. And so it was always an indicator. You know how often people go, they have that slump at, you know, at 2:30, 3 o'clock? It's because the energy has got into that part of the cycle and there is nothing there. It's depleted. So all of us that are looking for that little pick-me-up around about that time, that is actually the body is saying, you've got nothing in the tank. And so, you know, from my perspective, you know, with the winter, it gives that beautiful gift, as you said, to go within, to replenish, to nourish. It's also about, a lot of people are just tired at the moment, and I'm not surprised, both physically and energetically. We have gone through some pretty serious couple of years of different things and different changes, including the social isolation that's occurred with all the, you know, the different decisions that have been made. And so, to allow for connection through the retreat, but also to replenish that space, that reserve that you need for when things kick in again, because a lot of us are tired and our energy reserves are low. And so what a beautiful gift of wellness, of true wellness, to actually look after yourself as well as to actually be part of something beyond you.
You know, the whole thing of adrenal fatigue, chronic fatigue, ME, just a feeling of always being tired. I think there's 18% of Australians have sleep disorders, etc., etc. All these things are kidney related. So it's really a matter of giving your body deep rest. It's winter, and the retreat and the venue that you've chosen to do the retreat in, they're beautiful. You know, like it in itself is a nurturing environment, and then this practice is also deeply nurturing. Yeah.
And Kate, like we're taking this wide and beyond to the general public, but in particular right now we're streaming into our practitioner lounge. What bigger group needs to listen to that message? Because we're always serving and always giving, and we've got a big role to play with not only where we've got to, but where we're going to go to, that it's time for us to give back to ourselves as well. So I really hope that some practitioners just really sit back and go, this is I'm giving back to me. Yes, we all love to give to others. That's why we're in this profession. But in order for me to continue to do that, I also need to look after myself.
Nourish yourself, heal the world, Deb. That's our tagline. That's what, that's the story that we're trying to really, really amplify out there, because it's true. There's a lot of tiredness in our professions. We tend to be givers, overgivers, and there's a big need. Like at the moment, when you talk to any of our therapists, they're being called on a lot. I believe, or I think I see, that our world is in a state of healing right now. And so if you're a healer, therapist, practitioner, teacher, any of those professions that are about nurturing us back onto the right path, then you're really being called on a lot at the moment. So as we say in yoga, a sangha, you can't do it without a sangha. You need a community of support around you. And I guess hopefully there'll be quite a few therapists coming along on this retreat.
Yeah. And in acknowledgement of that, we've created a special offer for people that want to come along with a friend as well. We've got a friends package, and we've got payment plans. So, if things are like that are sort of concerning you, there is ways that we can work together to get you there. And at the same time, as a business owner, you can have that as a tax deduction. So, it really is, I think, something that one should really consider, feel into themselves, see what what they're looking to do in the future, what they need to do for themselves now, and then really manifest that it can actually happen if they want to be there. Yeah. So from Kate, from that perspective, then this week in particular, we've had all the facilitators. We're finishing off with a bang with yourself. You're our fourth facilitator of the program. So we've asked each of them, what experiences would they be offering at the retreat? What particular experience will you be offering at this winter retreat?
I believe, other than just being there and being available to talk about anything that people would like to talk about, I'm running 2 yoga classes for the retreat, and both of those will be focusing on the water element and strengthening that element, and giving people takeaways to do when they get home, because it's beautiful. You go on a retreat, you feel like you've really gone, finally, let go. I started to feel really, really good. And it's so important to have something in place when you go back out there. So yes, I'm going to be giving 2 classes, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're an hour and a half each, Deb? Or an
The
hour?
Japanese yoga one is definitely for an hour and a half. And if we've done another morning one, it might be a little bit less. But that, as you said, you'll be there, and I know that there will be any conversation that wants to be open up. As we've said, you've been in the industry for 42 years, Kate. I think you converse on anything. You always marvel me, the books that you're listening to and the different things that you come from. You're a very you're full of wealth of information and wisdom. So I think anyone would be there that would achieve that, but also connect with that as well over a cup of chai near the warm fire and a bliss ball. What else could you ask for? What else could you ask for?
Nothing. I'm there.
And I know I've been to one of your seasonal retreats, and it's not going to be the full thing, but I know when we walked away from that, because it is about community and connection and accountability, I ended up with you as my partner, and you had me doing practices afterwards. So it wasn't just about the day, but it was also about what could I do for the rest of the season on daily activity, in nutrition, and all sorts of things. So this retreat in particular, we're wanting to set up that people can do tasters of things, and then really know, well, what can I do for myself that is something I want to bring in, so they've got something beyond as well. Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's amazing. So when people leave the retreat,
Yep.
what do you envisage they would be feeling? What do you think that they could leave with?
I think the thing about a retreat, or the thing that I would be aiming for them to walk away with, is feeling held. And that's really important. The kidneys hold us. They hold us up. And it's that slumping that comes with exhaustion that we're working on. So it would be hopefully to have the practices and the sense of connection to community, and to have have given themselves a moment to breathe and to actually recalibrate and to really know what they want now as they walk out of that door, and how they envisage continuing on the journey of wellness for themselves as spring approaches. Yeah.
That's beautiful. The beautiful gift of being heard, seen, and held.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah, it's good. So, Kate, this weekend, although you're not partying, you're speaking to a friend about the retreat. What would you say to them as to why they should come along?
I am partying, Deb, actually. I just remembered I'm going to a 50th birthday party with the beautiful Campbell Wilson. And I will be speaking to people about that. I would probably be saying that, there's no need to battle on. That's not what it's all about anymore. It's about the joy factor. It's about actually giving ourselves what we need, and we'll receive, it feels, yikes, I'm spending money, I'm putting out to do the thing. But, that comes back at you manifold times and manifold ways. So that investment, which can feel very scary because we're not a moneyed kind of mob, most of us in the healing professions, yet we will be by the time Soul Advisor finishes with us. But putting out a little bit, making that investment in yourself will just be an incredible, it'll give good return. Yeah,
perfect. And as you said to me again, energetically, you're putting out there that you're worthy of that investment.
That's it.
And that it's time for you to receive as well. At the same time, being in an opportunity to be with other like-minded people that are going to hold you there for that space. And we deliberately have created a place that if all you want is to sit in a chair in front of a fire with a cup of tea and rest for 2.5 days, you can do that. But you also can be part of a program that I think is amazing. Like, seriously, I'm so excited about the things that we're putting in place. Wayapa, Japanese yoga, ecotherapy, aroma zen, our different sound, fire ceremony. There's so many things, cacao, that we could actually enjoy as a group as well. So, there's many things, and there's very little if you choose, because it's all about what you want to have in that retreat. So anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up today, Kate?
Nothing, except,
nothing.
Well, I could go on and on, me.
But we'll leave that for our next fireside chat.
Yeah. Thank you, Deb. Thank you very much for asking me along to have a chat. And I really do hope that we'll see all the people in our community at the retreat.
Definitely, Kate. So for everybody, we've got a few more spaces left. It is filling up, and that's not a sales push. We are limited to 10 rooms that are either twin share or individuals. So there is a few more spaces there. We are offering different ways to join us. We'd love you to be there with us. It's going to be held, as I said, in the Brightlands Retreat in Leura, Blue Mountains, on the 12th to the 14th of August. The link is going to be below this video and in the spaces that we've actually promoting it on our website. If you've got any questions, the kind of people we are, reach out. We'll always answer it for you. And we hope that you're part of that retreat with us in a month's time. So have a beautiful weekend, Kate, and for everyone that's joined us. And we'll speak to each other soon.
Thank you.